Hi, welcome to Meg Black Studios. In today's video, I'm going to attempt to answer the questions I hear the most about my artwork. 1, what materials do I use? 2, how do I know those colors aren't going to fade? 3, how do I make my work anyway? 4, what comments do I hear most often from people about my work? And finally, what do I like most about being a pulp painter? So here we go. The material I use to make my pulp paintings primarily is abaca. And abaca is a plant fiber from the inner bark of the banana tree. It grows primarily in the Philippines, and it's the strongest fiber in the world. You cannot rip it when it's dry because the fibers are so long that it's just impossible. That's how strong this is. What else do we make with abaca? Well, during the pandemic, we used abaca to make PPE. These are very thin, but they're very strong. We use abaca to make tea bags. Have you ever wondered why that real thin piece of paper, when you put it in boiling water, doesn't rip? It's because it's made of abaca. And the US military, the Navy, uses abaca to tie up their ships. That's how strong it is. So the great big ships in the harbor for the US Navy in the naval bases are tied up with abaca. That's how strong. So the reason I use the strong fiber is few reasons. 1, it's so strong. So it's even stronger than an oil on canvas painting will be. 2, it's all natural. So there's no pollutant when you're using abaca. It's pure fiber, pure material, grown organically. And I really like that there's nothing synthetic or, pollutant about it. And 3, it holds the color beautifully. So if I'm making vibrant colors like I like to do in my work, for example, this piece right behind me, I want the colors to be vibrant and I don't want them to fade. People would be very upset if they collected my work and then the work fades on them. So I know by using abaca, well beaten in my Hollander beater, that it's not going to fade. Another fiber I use is cotton. Cotton isn't as strong as abaca, you'll see. You can rip it pretty easily. Cotton comes to me from North Carolina. This is the same cotton we use to make cotton clothing. But I sometimes add cotton to the material because it does not break down quite as well. And that way I get a lot of texture in my work. So if I want a lot of texture, I will add cotton to the mix. And now I'll show you how I beat the fiber. The colors will not fade because the fiber is beaten in a Hollander beater. And the beater is based on the water wheels of Holland. It has a very strong blade that breaks down the fiber and opens up the cell wall. And in doing so, it allows the nucleus of the cell to absorb the pigment, and therefore the colors are what we call light fast. By spraying the fiber into the Hollander beater, I'm able to ensure that the colors will stay as vibrant years later as they are the very same day the work is made. After the pulp is beaten from between 1 and 20 hours, I remove it from the beater and pour it into a bucket. I just take a bucket like this of the pulp and I pour it onto the screening like that until I get the thickness I'm looking for. The pulp will of course be much thinner when it dries. The water when it evaporates, the sheet will be much thinner. So I always make it thicker than what I need. I have to be honest, I don't do a lot of measuring. I guess I've been doing this for 37 years, so after so many years, I'm just used to saying, okay, this is the thickness I'm looking for. I guess it's kind of like being a chef. You just do it by eyeball. And then what I do is, as you can see here, all these colors. This is the pulp that's been pigmented. And I'm emphasizing that it's pigmented because pigments, which are here, I get these pigments from Carriage House in New York City. I get my pulp from Twin Rocker in Wisconsin. And you can see that the pigments, they're pure pigments. So this is titanium. See, titanium dioxide. This is a cadmium. This is a phthalo green. And this is a dioxane, which is the purple. So they're all pure pigment and they're all light fast, which just means that they're not going to fade. They're very expensive. They're very high quality pigments. And that's how I'm assured that the colors will hold up. This past weekend I was in a festival and people came upon me who bought a painting from me 30 years ago. And they said, that painting is exactly like the day we bought it. And I said, well, I'm glad to hear it, but it's going to be the way it looks like the way you bought it another 30 years as well. And I'm very confident in that. So what I do is I add the pigment to the pulp, and then I apply the pigmented pulp to what's now I'm going to refer to as the base sheet. Okay. And yep, I'm using a turkey baster. I use a turkey baster, and old spoons are my primary painting tools. And you can see that the water is falling through the screening. You can hear it. And again, this is how I apply the color. Sometimes people ask, well, how does the color hold? Well, it hydrogen bonds. We know that the strongest bonding in the world is a hydrogen bond. And this is water, which is hydrogen and oxygen. So as the oxygen from the water will evaporate, which it will, what's left is the hydrogen. And so the piece will all become one painting based on the fact that it will hydrogen bond. So no matter how many layers I put on this, the hydrogen will bond it all into one. I could put hundreds of layers on it. It won't matter. It's the hydrogen will just combine it. So that's the cotton abaca mix that I put onto the surface. And then when I want to add just that overbeaten abaca, I typically use a spoon to paint with. Sometimes I use squeeze bottles like this, but for the most part, I just use a spoon. So I can squeeze the pulp, you can see, right? But I find I like working with spoons better. I get more control out of a spoon. Then I do the bottle. And what I do is I just mush it together in my hand and make the new color. You can see it's kind of like a marble here. I'll add a little more color to it, some gold. And this is how I get the colors. And then when I paint with them, you can see how they streak. You see? And that's how I get the colors. And then, you know, I can go over it with more cotton mix if I need to, and, you know, more overbeaten. So the result of my process are paintings that are rich in color, and the colors are permanent. They will not fade. The comments I hear about my work most often from people are the color. People love the vibrant colors. And that comment is followed most closely with the idea of texture. People love how textural my work is. And again, that happens by using these fibers. The abaca and the cotton create that texture. They also love my process. They love the fact that I use spoons and turkey basters and embroidery needles stuck into No. 2 pencils. They just find that fascinating. So I love to share my process with people, and I love their reaction when they learn more about how I create my artwork. I love the discovery. I love the fact that the work I'm doing in here has never been done before. And people marvel what you can do with that pulp, and I've gleaned a reputation for myself as an artist internationally. I have worked now in U.S. embassies. I have work in the Smithsonian. I have work in museums and libraries, and I'm very proud of that. And I do accredit the medium for being part of that, because I've just been such a pioneer with this.